Hello Choppers, and welcome to our review of Redline, a tactical card combat game for 2 players, ages 13 up, and plays in about 30 to 50 minutes. In this card game, you play either the Crimson Pact of Mars or the United Nations of Earth. To start out, you will have a general for your team, either the Crimson Pact of Mars or the United Nations of Earth. Your general starts the game face down in what is called the bunker off to the side of your deck. Your deck is called your arsenal and contains 60 cards, a combination of resources, equipment, your efforts, and tactics cards. The place below your arsenal is called your scrapyard and is where your efforts that have been destroyed or your tactics cards and equipment that have been used go into whenever they are destroyed. The game is laid out as you can see here, where we have what is called the red line in the middle of the table between both players. This is where your mission cards are. Below that is your front line, and this is where you will play out your mechs. Below that is called your baseline. It is directly in front of each player. This is where you will play your resources, which you expend to generate your resources to pay for your different cards. This is also where you will deploy equipment if it is not directly attached to an effort. Your general has a special ability that takes effect when it is in play. You'll see in the upper left corner is the number of resources it takes to bring your general into play. Once your general is in play, the ability takes effect. Now, if your general is targeted and defeated, it will go back face down into the bunker, but then can be redeployed to your baseline at any time during your deployment phase for the resource cost plus 2 more each time it brought back out from the bunker. Your general is destroyed by defeating their armor number, which is the number in the middle section below the picture on the card. Your efforts are what do the most fighting during the game. They're deployed to your front line, and from there they will try to accomplish the missions in the red line in the center of the table. They come in 3 different types: light, medium, and heavy, and they have 3 different stats in the middle of the card, which are attack, armor, and speed. If you're playing a piece of equipment directly from your hand, and its equipment type matches an effort that you already have in play on the board, you can attach it directly to the effort in your front line by just paying its resource cost. Otherwise, you would have to pay its resource cost to put it in your baseline, and then pay its equip cost, which is in the middle of the equipment card, to attach it to an effort on the board, either later on or one that you already have in your front line that does not have that type of slot for that equipment. The mission cards are turned out from the deck in ascending order, 1 through 5. You'll need to remember this because during the mission planning phase, you will be setting your dial to a number between 1 and 5 to determine where your effort will go to which mission. Mission cards are set up with abilities in the middle of them that will affect different things with gameplay, and also a symbol in the lower left-hand corner which stands for Recon. Recon is another resource that you can use to activate abilities from your effort. The number in the lower right-hand corner is the capture number. This is the number that you will have to either meet or exceed when you're trying to capture that mission. It is also the number that after you successfully capture that mission, that you will be doing in damage to either your opponent's efforts, or their general, or their arsenal. When you do damage to an arsenal, you will discard to the scrapyard that many amount of cards. The game is played out in 3 different phases: the deployment phase, the mission planning phase, and then the combat phase. During the deployment phase is where you will play resources to your baseline. Once a resource is in your baseline, you will be able to expend it or turn it sideways in order to generate a resource to spend on other cards. During the deployment phase is also where you will heal damage from your mechs. Damage is done to your mechs either through combat or through somebody getting a critical hit on your mech. Critical hits happen when an attack roll either equals an opponent's speed, or a 12 is rolled on your attack die during combat. You will draw a critical hit card from the critical hit deck, and it will be applied to the effort. Critical hits can be repaired, just like damage can on an effort, by spending one resource during the deployment phase. After the starting player is done with their deployment phase, it proceeds to the next player's deployment phase. After both players are done with their deployment phase, it proceeds to the mission planning phase. During the mission planning phase, each player will take their dial and set it to either one of the 5 mission numbers or B for the baseline to pull their effort back. Once all players have set their dials and put them face down on their efforts, they will simultaneously turn those dials up and move their efforts to those missions. And then it moves to the combat phase. If an effort is unopposed at a mission, it will make a capture roll. They roll a d6 and see if they can either meet or exceed. Now the d6 roll is modified by whether it is a light, medium, or heavy effort. If they succeed at making that capture roll by meeting or exceeding that number, they will put their token on that mission to show that which faction it belongs to. That token also signifies that the capture roll number is increased by 1 for any subsequent capture rolls made against it. If both players have efforts go to the same mission, they will have an engagement and will roll off for combat. Whoever wins the combat will get to make a capture roll after dealing the damage and destroying the other effort at that mission. Once the combat phase is completed, then players will go back to the deployment phase, where they will be able to draw cards, deploy their resources out, and play more efforts. Now, we didn't go over tactical cards, but tactical cards are cards that you'll be able to play using either resources or recon, and they increase or decrease different things during combat or during the game, and they're able to be played during any phase, as long as you have the resources or the recon to play it. The first player to capture all 5 missions on the board, have their tokens on each one, wins Redline. Now, being old school Magic the Gathering players, we really enjoyed playing Redline, so much that we rated it an 8 out of 10. If you're familiar with Magic the Gathering or most collectible card games, a lot of the mechanics will feel old school to you, like playing the resources, expending them, playing out your efforts, are very similar feel to playing your mana and playing out your monsters. Putting your equipment on your efforts is just like enchanting, and using your tactic cards are similar to using instants during a game of the Magic the Gathering. But this game has the added bonus of actually doing combat at the missions, so it gives it a little extra something, and I attribute the placement of the dials as having a little sprinkling of X-Wing in it. If you're a little bit familiar with the Star Wars X-Wing game and how it plays, so we feel giving this game an 8 out of 10 really feels good to us. It's a great game. We can't wait to see the expansions that are coming up for it and how it's going to add different things to the game. So I'm Logan for Logan Chopped Reviews, and this has been a review of Redline, and we'll see you next time, and as always, happy gaming.